Record. Right. Good morning, good day, and good evening from wherever you are in the world joining us. I am L'Oreal, Essential Wellness Coach. We have been doing this series for the last 3 days, doing hormonal, how to handle and micromanage our hormones through natural ways, using emotional intelligence. And we had with Paul last night, we had sexual health and how to, with painful periods and sexual health. So what I just wanted to carry on from last night was just a few methods, because did give some body massage, and I was thinking if anybody does want any essential oils that we are going to be talking about tonight, would be cedarwood and vetiver. And this is for the men's blend. So the men's blend is just so that they would get them into their masculinity energy as well, and it would be smells that would resonate much more with them. So you can do a cedarwood or a vetiver, lavender and cedarwood, jasmine and bergamot. So either one of those, 2 drops of each and a tablespoon of oil, and then get to massaging. And just remember the sensitive areas when you are dealing with essential oils, because they do go. And then just 2 things I did want to mention as well was 2 verses that I came across that mentioned the essential oils, is Proverbs 27 verse 9, chapter 27 verse 9, is ointment and perfume rejoices the heart. And Revelations 5-8 is vials of odors are prayers of saints. So I just wanted to bring that in, just to remind us that, even though we just see these as essential oils, these are pure methods given to us. They're just strong, and like 1 drop can literally go a long way. So as we make these transitions into things that are going to benefit our lifestyle, and the way that we deal with things like fibroids, menopause, endometriosis, that there are always additional things that we can do to provide ourselves relief from these the symptoms that we get in using essential oils and micromanaging. So I would like tonight to introduce Mandy. She is joining us from Ubuntu Africa and BMS Holistic. She does Young Living essential oils. I met Mandy a couple years ago, and my best friend has connected me with her over the years, and she's really helped me to just also indulge more, not just with now I'm ready to take my essential oils experience a lot further and expand it out into everyone. So thank you, Mandy, for joining us and bringing hormonal health to the ladies, so we know what we can also do to further our health and our hormonal health, bring in the happy hormones.
So thanks, L'Oreal. Okay, so just a bit about me. I'm a wellness practitioner of about 14 years. I do everything that's natural. I had a practice that closed it come COVID after 9 years. I think I was just bored and I just needed something different. So for me, I use skio modalities. I had a NES scanner. I also do Hunter. So I do everything that's really natural, and I love to educate, because I think the more that we educate one another, the better and more informed we are about what we're trying to fix. So many of us don't understand how hormones work. So I have a presentation that I use on an ongoing basis to teach people or ladies what hormones do in the body. So I'm going to share a little bit of that first this afternoon, because I'm always in the afternoon, and this evening. I don't know where I am today. I'm going to share a little bit more today, this evening, around hormones and how hormones actually work, where are they associated with, so that we can understand a little bit more. So when I do go into the essential oils more in depth, you'll understand exactly what I'm referring to and how we can support those glands, because it's really important. So I'm going to share my screen. You need to make me host again.
I have.
Thank you. Perfect. Just let me go back here and just start it from the beginning before I share it. Super. Super. So we're going to start this evening with hormones, learning all hormones, but in a really condensed way. So all around hormones, let's start. So I just want to sort of move these out the way so I can see my handwriting. So I just want to have this disclaimer, because I'm not a doctor and not a medical professional. The information on the site is meant for educational purposes only. This information, the products discussed, are not meant to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases. Statements on this website have been evaluated by the FDA. If you are pregnant, nursing, taking medication, or have a medical condition, please revert back to your physician. So I'm going to start with a little video just to give us a little bit of insight as to what our hormones are all about.
Hormones are chemicals produced by various glands. Hormones act as messengers affecting the activity of another part of the body. Such messengers are normally transported through the bloodstream. The pituitary is a pea-sized gland that controls the function of most other glands and secretes a variety of hormones, such as growth hormone and thyroid-stimulating hormone. The pituitary itself is controlled by a small brain region called the hypothalamus. Growth hormone regulates bone and muscle growth and physical development. The thyroid is a gland in the neck. It secretes thyroid hormones, which control the speed of the body's chemical functions, or metabolism. Thyroid hormones affect many vital functions, such as heart rate. Another gland, the pancreas, helps control the levels of glucose in the blood by secreting insulin, which moves glucose out of the blood and into cells. Diabetes occurs when the body does not produce enough insulin to control blood sugar levels. There are 2 adrenal glands, one on top of each kidney. The adrenals secrete several hormones, such as epinephrine, aldosterone, and cortisol. These hormones help control heart rate and blood pressure, maintain fluid and mineral balance in the body, and respond to stress and infection. The testes and ovaries produce sex hormones and reproductive cells under the control of the pituitary. The testes produce testosterone and sperm. The ovaries produce estrogen and eggs.
So that just gives us a little overview so that we actually understand, because I think many of us don't really understand exactly what does what. So when we look at the testes, it secretes male sex hormones. When we look at the parathyroid, that's next to the thyroid, it helps regulate the calcium in the blood. Thyroid glands affect our metabolism, amongst other things. The hypothalamus, brain region controlling the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland secretes many hormones, some of which affect other glands. Adrenals, probably the most stressed gland in our body, is the trigger for fight or flight, helping us to deal with stress. The pancreas regulates the level of sugar in the blood. The thyroid, that one's already done, and the ovaries secrete sex hormones for the female. So when we look at the thyroid gland, it's a small gland located in the lower front part of your neck. It's responsible for helping to regulate many of the body processes, such as metabolism, energy generation, and mood. The thyroid produces 2 major hormones, T3 and T4. So the testes or the testicles are oval organs about the size of very large olives. They lie in the scrotum, secured at either end by a structure called the spermatic cord. Most men have two testes. Testes are responsible for making testosterone, the primary male sex hormone, and producing sperm. So PTH raises calcium levels by releasing calcium from your bones and increasing the amount of calcium absorbed from your small intestine. When blood calcium levels are too high, the parathyroid glands produce less PTH, but sometimes one or more of these glands produce too much of the hormone. So hypothalamus is also involved in different daily activities like eating and drinking, in the control of body's temperature and energy maintenance, and the process of memorizing, and in stress control. So that you can actually, I know so many ladies, when I teach them about the hypothalamus, they go, oh my goodness, that's absolutely everything I have. Well, it's because it's not functioning correctly. So it also modulates the endocrine system through its connections with the pituitary gland. The adrenal glands are small little glands located on the top of each kidney. They produce hormones that you can't live without, including our sex hormones and cortisol. So cortisol helps you respond to stress and has many other important functions. With adrenal gland disorders, your glands make too much or not enough hormones. It's one of the most important glands when it comes to sexual function, because if women are too stressed or men are too stressed, there is no such thing as sex. There's just no even conjuring that up. So pancreas and its functions. The pancreas is an organ located in the abdomen. It plays an essential role in converting food we eat into fuel for the body's cells. The pancreas has two main functions, an exocrine function that helps in digestion and an endocrine function that regulates our blood sugar. The pituitary gland is called the master gland and has the hormones. And as the hormones it produces controls so many different processes in our body. It senses the body's needs and sends signals to different organs and glands throughout the body to regulate their function and maintain a proper environment. So the female ovaries provide two key functions. They produce a mature egg to be available for fertilization each month, which is called ovulation. And they deliver the hormones estrogen and progesterone, which are essential to establishing and maintaining pregnancy. So there's 7 signs of hormones that are completely imbalanced and not functioning correctly. So I'm going to just broach on these. So hormones are compound envoys that affect practically the majority of our everyday exercises. A great many people blame skin inflammation, breakouts, and emotional episodes to hormones that are crazy. Be that as it may, hormonal and even characteristics are significantly sometimes other than fits of rage tossed by youngsters or touchy mothers-to-be. Most ladies face 7 normal indications of hormonal lopsidedness sooner or later in their lives. So, let me just have a look. There we go. Come on. So weight gain is one of them. You can see the different photos here. The first one being adrenals. You can see that there's a lot more weight around the tummy area, very thin legs, and the upper body is also quite thin. You can see liver for men, generally with a little boop in the front. Ovaries, you can see, are more heavy on the thighs, and thyroid, it just gets overweight all over the place. So weight gain, while weight addition could be an indication of unfortunate dietary patterns, tenacious weight increase may likewise be a sign of hormonal awkwardness. Such irregularities can be of various sorts. On a normal, ladies increase about 2 to 4 pounds or around 1 to 2 kilograms at mid-menopause, but be that as it may, a few ladies are at a danger of achieving higher numbers, so we get the obesity happening. At the point when sex hormones are out of equalization, ladies can add on the pounds, even face obesity. So insulin opposition, a condition in which the body cells quit reacting to the hormone insulin, additionally causes weight gain in ladies, which is another sign of hormonal awkwardness. This issue is apparent in most postmenopausal women. So decreased sex drive, and there's a load of women who struggle with this. A standout amongst the most widely recognized indications of hormonal unevenness is the lessened enthusiasm for sexual exercise, or even diminished sex drive. A drop in estrogen levels in the body, or untimely ovarian disappointment, a condition in which the ovaries quit working before the age of 40. And there's quite a lot more ladies that are experiencing this. May cause this in ladies. Some of the time, even an insignificant drop in testosterone levels, which ladies produce normally, may result in a sexual disinterest. So weakness, this is one of probably the most important things that we can struggle with when we don't have our hormones balanced. So on and off chance you would wind up inclination tired more often than not, it could be because of the lopsided characteristics of specific hormones. A diminished estrogen level can cause cerebral pains, and also progesterone, another hormone in charge of different real capacities, may also cause exhaustion. So excessively little of this hormone can make it difficult to rest, while a lot of it can cause tiredness. So I think you shift between complete exhaustion and not being able to sleep, and then this and then that. It creates that complete imbalance, which creates the tiredness within ourselves. An unproduction of thyroid hormones may prompt lower dimensions of vitality, making you feel completely worn out and feeble. Fluffy or vague reasoning is another side effect of hormonal awkwardness, almost like that brain fog, particularly at the midlife. So stress, lack of sleep, an undesirable eating routine can trigger mishap musings that can cause mental tiredness. Lot of different levels of hormonal imbalances. It's such a tricky thing to just fix one or the other. It's really so interlinked by one and the other. So tension and depression, another very big sign of hormonal imbalances. So a span of hormone awkwardness goes the extent that your temperament, causing tension, frustration, despondency, and other states of mind issue. This is particularly in pubescence, pregnancy, and menopause. So there's, even just going into pubescence and starting menses, lots more young girls, and I put it down to all of the hormones that are in most of the stuff that we're eating disrupts their proper start to women. And we're having a lot of issues of young girls coming that are going into that start of life way too early because of all the hormones in food. So it's really our world at the moment, with all of the toxicity and all of the extra hormones pumped into animals, are not helping our youngsters. Young boys are actually getting boobs, which is really bad. And this is due to fast foods and really not eating natural and connecting with the natural side of what we should be consuming. So this is why my tendency to go more to essential oils for solutions is really something that I really push with my clients, especially for young kids as well. So estrogen, for example, is in charge of serotonin creation, the concoction in charge of bliss and other positive inclinations. Numerous ladies experience inclination swings and negative feelings like tension and bothering amid their premenopausal years, get grumpy. The period just before the event of menopause, in view of the decrease in estrogen levels. So it's definitely something that we need to look at as a solution, more natural solution, to keep those levels, balanced. So how are you? When you ask most women, I think when they get to something that sounds along like, yes, I'm fine. So when we break this down, there's actually two versions of this, a little bit more outspoken version, and then this one. So I thought I'd keep it more polite. So the F is for freaked out, the I is for insecure, the N is for neurotic, and the E is for emotional. So if those of you out there are using the word, yes, I'm fine, well, you're not. So poor sleep is another big problem with emotional imbalances. I have to deal with and help a lot of ladies with sleep deprivation, and it's not even just because they have babies. Not getting enough good quality rest, your hormones may be having an effect on everything. Numerous ladies experience sleep deprivation, especially amid menopause, due to the lessening in the generation of estrogen and progesterone in the body. Also, when you experience pressure, the body creates a greater amount of pressure hormone cortisol. An overproduction of cortisol over an extension stretch of time can upset ordinary rest patterns, and that's why we just simply don't switch off. Then you also have the combination of everything that happens in our minds. We're always trying to fix everything. We've got too much on our mind, so that whole combination just puts it in the wrong scale. So combined with other hormonal awkward nature, you can bid a fond farewell to rest. So sweating is another one of the signs of hormonal imbalances. Perspiring more than expected is some of the time an indication of hormonal awkwardness. An overproduction of thyroid hormones, which causes an irregularity in digestion, can make the body's inside temperature increment and cause unnecessary perspiring amid menopause. So we get hot flushes. Estrogen levels drop radically, and the ladies experience side effects like night sweats and hot flushes, which are related to the temperature sweating. So stomach-related problems, how many of us ladies out there that struggle with this? So the female hormone estrogen and progesterone affect the gastrointestinal tract. An unevenness in these hormones influences the stomach-related framework. Now and then it accelerates the procedure, bringing about the runs or otherwise sickness and stomach torment. So different occasions, it can back off and of the procedure and cause swelling and clogging. It's not only your hormones that do this, but there is a wonderful bacteria called Helicobacter pylori that will cause bloatedness and cramping. They make little hosts, and what they do is their poop really stinks. It causes a gas, which really affects digestive system as well. So if your hormones are imbalanced and you have Helicobacter pylori with a wrong diet, you're definitely going to be struggling. So thyroid hormone levels additionally influence the best possible working of the stomach-related framework. In hypothyroidism, when thyroid dimensions are low, absorption backs off, and the centralization of stomach corrosive and stomach-related compounds may decrease. And these examples have been accounted for amid premenses, menses, and premenopause in women. So in the event that you have encountered at least one of these manifestations, realize that a hormone irregularity is likely the guilty party. So these hormonal changes can be caused because of a typical maturing process or because of some fundamental well-being conditions. In this way, to be erring on the side of caution, talk about the manifestations with your specialist and know that there is alternative treatments. So I'm going to leave it to that because we're going to chat a bit more, I'm sure, now with L'Oreal. I'm going to stop my recording. I'll stop my presentation. Gotta get my brain back there. I even need some more estrogen and progesterone. Brain fog.
Yesterday I couldn't remember to actually unmute my mic while talking. So every time I like start talking, I'm okay, let me go unmute my mic first before I can start talking. And I start talking. This whole online thing is like so new to me, especially technical difficulties. But yeah. So I do like to, so this is like the hormone build-up part. So this is like what a lot of women actually have been suffering is because they don't know how to deal with that build-up, because that usually when that estrogen like builds up in the body, they start getting headaches. So for one thing, one trick that's actually helped me was, I did mention this I think last night as well, was using food diets mostly as that, because that normally regulates your body first. But if there is an imbalance obviously with your diet, then you obviously use another tool to help you with it. But fiber for women is very important because of the to prevent that irritable bowel syndrome, to get the gases and stuff actually smelling right and smelling going proper, so that you're not thrown off balance. So one of the things for ladies is actually Mediterranean diet has one of the most balanced diet that you can get. especially when it comes to getting your nutritional value in. So now you said now we're talking about, you know, the perpetuary and basically the endocrine system. What oils would you recommend, like, that would be best beneficial for women to?
So there's amazing oils that I use every single day, and we'll talk more about that going forward. Is clary sage. So clary sage is your estrogen. It's not an estrogen producer. It's going to support the body's estrogen production. I never say it raises or lowers anything with essential oils, because it doesn't do that. It balances. So your clary sage, unless you have a tendency to have any breast cancer in the family, you wouldn't use clary sage, because you don't want to have that excess estrogen production, because that's where it comes from. So you would leave that one out. But definitely, you know, clary sage is basically used, we use 1 drop. I think mine's almost done. There we go, I've got 2 drops. So when it gets to the bottom, it goes into the lip of that, the orifice, and then you can't get it out. So you're basically activating it, and then you're taking a little bit of it, you're just putting it on your wrist. So the clary sage is more for your wrist, and it smells absolutely divine. Then we've got Progessence Plus, which is, for me, it's like liquid gold from Young Living, because it's the progesterone. So it's got the basis of the wild yam. You know, wild yam is really a totally natural way for us to tap into balancing our hormones in nature. It's also got frankincense in here, so it's got a really awesome smell to it. 2 drops of this goes onto, you can literally put it onto, I've just got a long sleeve on, so I'm going to just put it onto my forearms, activating it, and then just rubbing it onto your forearms. And that's basically it for you when you're doing your Progessence Plus. And then the other incredible essential oil that I use, I've helped many actually get off altroxin because of it, so is Endoflex. So Endoflex is an incredible blend from Young Living that you basically put 1 drop, and you must remember, because of concentration, you're only doing 1 drop on one side of the thyroid, and then the other side of the thyroid, and that's your hormone balancing for the day. Okay. So there are specific oils for men. We don't have them in South Africa yet, but I am keen to have them come. It's Idaho Blue Spruce and Mister. They are the testosterone-based oils. As we've just learned now that we also need the testosterone-based oils. So when they slowly start coming into South Africa, we can start learning more about those. But those are my 3 go-to. I've got one other that I love. Let's just see where Dragon Time is.
Oh, Dragon Time. Oh, I love that one.
Is also a really, really super duper one. So Dragon Time is around PMS. It's basically balancing emotions. So Dragon Time is exactly that, is when we become dragons. But I mean, not even just for women over that period of time, but also just for grumpy men. So it just balances your emotions. It smells like licorice. For many, they can't handle the smell. I just think it smells like licorice. So we must remember too that when you don't like the smell of an oil, that's the oil you really need. So you need to start on your feet and get used to that. And then as soon as you start shifting that emotional stuff, you will start enjoying your oil. So those are my 4 go-tos when it comes to hormonal balancing. Really easy, really natural, our link to nature, which is the reason why I love it so much.
Yeah, this is such a nice way to include you know, the purity of things as well into our life. I've been reading I actually found this book by chance, which is one of Valerie Ann Worwood's books, and this one is the one that we were talking about last night, was the Romance, Love, Sex, and natural essential oil. So what you can invite. So for men, I did write down here for men, which is the stimulants. For men would be rosemary, orange, and ylang. Now ylang, I've noticed with men, because I do get, like, my boyfriend, like, I bought him Young Living Haven because of it helps with the chronic fatigue, the mental fatigue. It's got the vanilla, which is very uplifting, and a lot of people can love that vanilla smell. And I just bought it for him, and he was like, no, like I'm okay. And as soon as I'm like, he smiled, and I bought Yang Lang for me because it helps with emotional issues and or balancing the emotions and stuff. So I bought that one for me, and he's like, oh, I like this one, I'm taking this one. I'm like, that's fine, you can have it. So we were like literally fighting over the two essential oils. Like, I wanted that one actually, and I bought this one for you, but it's fine. Which then the Haven, which is actually known as Stress Away, has become my favorite essential oil to use now. So like every time I buy I end up buying 2 bottles of the Haven just because it smells and just makes me feel all good. And then the other one for the estrogen hormones, especially for those who are very low on the estrogen and stuff, would be cypress, clary, sage, thyme, nutmeg, angelica, and geranium. And those are the ones that are available in South Africa. So if you do make your own blends, you have used the cypress and the angelica together, which was a very nice blend. I love white angelica. It is just that one oil that just grounds you, protects you, and it makes you feel really, really good. So also I wanted to ask another blend that was asked for, fibroids. I know a lot of women suffer with fibroids because fibroids is a mass of emotional stress. It's guilt, shame, inner confusion, and abuse. So how could we use essential oils to help us, like either yeast or infections or fibroids?
So fibroids are, just let me get to my little,
And if anybody on the show also has any questions, please put them up in the chat box. We would like to know if there's any kind of concerns, any kind of questions you would like to ask regarding what we're talking about and the essential oils. Please feel free to do so.
So there's quite, this is the wonders about essential oils, is that very often people are so freaked out that they have to get lots like me. They look at me and they go, well, Mandy, we can't get that selection. And I say, remember that my selection comes over a very long period of time. And because I do the business, I have to purchase. So I have to, and also see a lot of clients, and I also mix a lot of things as well. So I try and keep a lot of my selection for my clients and what it is that I do. So when you look at essential oils, and especially a good quality essential oil, the most amazing thing about these oils is they never just fix one thing. So sometimes people who have very little even fix the things that they don't think that they were going to fix. So, I often say to ladies, don't get, hung up about, oh, I can't afford all those oils. Even one
that
oil.
Is one, yeah.
Exactly. Even one oil. This is why we use this wonderful, the reference guide app to essential oils. I love using it because it's really, it's condensed and it shares with you the basic oils that you need for certain things. So when we look at fibroids, we're looking at frankincense, helichrysum, endoflex, Idaho tansy, lavender, oregano, pine, and valour. Some of them we haven't got yet, but it doesn't matter. Even what L'Oreal has shared with you, it really doesn't matter as long as you stick into the oils that are going to support that part of your body. If you only have one, that's good enough. As long as you keep on doing it though, because people get a little bit complacent and then they stop. Remember that our link to nature is we don't just revert our bodies back to how it was. We need to keep up at least 3 months to 6 months to allow our body to get that balance back. So there's a few more, or there's another one that I want to share with you, L'Oreal, and I'm sure that you touched on it with Mpo last night, was the circulation part of the sex scenario. So cypress is an incredible oil for circulation.
Okay, around the area?
Around the area.
Okay, so like diluted, like yoni. Okay.
It's a really good one for thighs, and we can also talk a little around. I've got a really lovely book that we can touch on at some point called Lucy Libido. So Lucy Libido has got some really nice ideas on how we use some wonderful Young Living oils to get that spark back in the bedroom.
Ah, lovely. I like that one. And then, okay, so I just want you to also bring and just speak about the difference of the oils, because obviously there's a lot of oils available on the market. You've got some at discount, you've got some at the health shops, and you've got some, and obviously the prices range all differently. So maybe if you could narrow down the facts of like the why this type of oil, like why Young Living, and then also like the different types of oils that might I think the way that they've been made, obviously. But I know with this one, it's, for me, it's integrity. It's about like what they have to offer, the purity. I'm always going for something that's high vibrational, because I vibrate at a high frequency. So I want something that to either match mine or to boost my frequency. So
Yeah, and you see, that's the thing, there's a lot of negativity around Young Living. If you go and Google, you'll see there's a whole lot of negativity around Gary. And it's really quite sad. I think those of us who understand trying to be that one person, that individualist that's trying to do something better for humanity, there's always the haters. So, when I first came up with, or was first introduced to Young Living, I was like, oh, here's another oil that's just like way too expensive. And what makes it so different to the other oils I've been using? And I mean, I had drawers of oils. I mean, I would travel the world and I would buy essential oils all over the place. And I was using them for myself. I was either putting them in my bath, and at the time, terribly that I say this, but I was burning them with a burner and a tea light. How many of us started doing that, and we didn't have diffusers when we all did it. So I think we're so used to the aromatic side of essential oils, we actually don't understand concentrated graded oils. So when you're looking at therapeutic graded oils, you understand that they steam distilled only once, bringing out the therapeutic side. So it's really important for us to remember that, because, when you look at other companies, very often we've got a seed to, well, Young Living has got a seed to seal promise. And what does that mean? It means that they are the only ones that work with their goods. They are the only ones that cultivate their own seeds, organic seeds. They're the only ones that plant them in soil that has never been touched by fertilizer and pesticides. I mean, I remember stories of Gary. I've been with Young Living for over 10 years, so I know all the stories, and I've researched and I've educated myself really well. So he used to taste the soil and know if they were looking for new farms, if the soil was going to produce a good harvest or not. And their farming practices is far beyond any other essential oil company. They don't do what Young Living do. They don't, Young Living even have a certain sheep now in France that eat the weeds and not the lavender. So everything is done, in connection and in synergy with nature. So they use their lower grade oils as pesticides. They never use any kind of toxicity whatsoever. And that's what you want. You want something that is completely pure, because if you're putting it on your skin and you're consuming it, you definitely don't want any toxicity in there whatsoever. So what's the point? So when we look at Young Living, we can, look at all the negative, but if you start to educate yourself about truly the science behind and the practices that Young Living do with their oils, you realize why they are still number one in the world today. So they test their oils 120 times before they're bottled. I don't think many companies do that. And who's going to check? If you love an essential oil, why don't you just phone the company and say, well, where are your farms? Do you own your farms? Do you use pesticides? Do you use fertilizers? Who's distilling your oils? How do you distill your oils? They will generally say, we don't know. Because why? They have third party and whatever, doing their processing for them. And also another thing is, when you look at harvesting, many companies, I actually spoke to my husband a little while ago, and he was sending some plant to the States. And I was like, by the time it gets there, it's like rotten. It's obviously going in a container. How are they keeping that fresh? So when you look at Young Living, every single distillery is on their farm. So they're harvesting, they're waiting until those antioxidants are in the top of the plant, because what happens is plants don't understand that they've been cut. They don't know that that's happened, but they understand that there's something wrong. So what they do is they push all of their good juices to the top, and then they wait and they test for that, and then they distill. So there's so many more practices and very important information that is required when you distill. It's not just a process. You know, many people phone me on an ongoing basis and say to me, they're also producing oils, do I want to sell them? And then I ask them what they're doing. And when just from a little bit of what they're saying, I know they're not doing the process like Young Living. So I think it's a matter of choice. For me, it's a matter of quality. I don't want to sell something to a client that I am seeing that isn't pure. I mean, this is why we are wellness practitioners, because we want to have our connection with nature, and we want to make sure that we're not adding to the toxicity of our clients. There's no point in doing that. So another reason why I absolutely love Young Living is because of the way that their oils are produced. Their molecules are so teeny, which is what should happen, that it goes past the brain barrier. So many of them go past a little more than others, but what happens is these oils, because their little molecules are so tiny, they are able to go into the cellular structure, and that's what's really important. So if you truly want to have your vitality and wellness change for the better, you want to use a superior quality as far as essential oils go.
Yeah, that is true. It's all about what we are putting into our life, into our bodies, and we want the purest thing. I mean, that is why we end up going for things like, you know, some of us have chosen like a plant-based diet because we want that true, authentic feeling from our food as well, the purity of our food. So the same for me, wanting to get all this as close to nature as possible. Now with the essential oils, we get to you know, we get different points to put them on, like you showed us. We can put them on the next to our thyroid, and then we've got the soft tissues and the VitaFlex points. Could you maybe walk us through that a little bit, just like, you know, the VitaFlex points and how you know, the path on our hands?
So you know, the thing is that we have different holograms on our bodies. We've got a hologram of our body on our feet, where it's connected to all our organs. We've got on our ears, we've got our hands, and we've got the top part of our head. So it doesn't really matter where you put the oils. It matters that you use specifically essential oils like Young Living. You know, many people only use it like, you know, 1 or 2 drops in the diffuser once a week because they've forgotten to put it in their diffuser. You know, you can use it topically everywhere. So I always say, go to the area of concern. If you do have adrenal fatigue, put them on the adrenals. If you do have a liver issue, put it on the liver. If you're wanting it to go deeper into the body, use a hot water bottle, leave it on that area for a while, lie down, relax, and allow that heat to push the oils deeper inside the body. So for me, it's really important to use it on our feet. We know that the thyroid is just underneath the big toe. But you know what? It doesn't even matter. I think the novelty of putting it on the actual point eventually wears off. And all you're doing is taking that 1 drop and rubbing it on the bottom of your feet. So there's no real spot, but when we're working with the hormones, it's around our ankles. Yes. So that's one space that we don't go and put oils, because we keep on putting it on our feet. So it's one of the places that I do with Dragon Time. Dragon Time, I love putting around my ankles. But, you know, generally you want to put the hormonal oils on the softest part of your body. So the softest skin, the thinnest skin. So generally the neck, you can even put face, you can put the wrist and, you know, the forearms, the inner thighs, behind the knees. So those are the kind of places that you would place some of the hormonal oils. Doesn't necessarily have to be, but that's just perhaps maybe the easier place for it to go into. It needs the softer skin for it to go into. Other than that, I would put the majority of the hormonal oils around ankles, especially if you're wanting to fall pregnant. So there's a reason why you're doing that, because you're helping ovaries. And if you look at the back tendon, just where your heel is, just above your heel, that's a very interesting spot. If it's very sore, that's to do with fertility.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. That's really interesting. Yeah. Okay. That was so the back of the ankle. Okay.
So just a little tendon in that little hollow section at the back where you love. And I can tell you now that, I mean, I went for reflexology once when I was trying to fall pregnant with Skylar, and she touched that spot. I nearly hit the roof, and she said, "Oh, that's why you're not falling pregnant."
Ah, wow. That's actually really interesting.
So I think it's left for men and it's right for women. So all of ours is associated with the right side, the right foot, and the men are left foot.
Yeah, so that's where I've also received a past life. I went and one of my old stockers, she was a past life reflexologist, and then she came and she did one on me, and then she was going boop boop boop, and she was feeling on my feet, and she's like pressed here, and she's like, is it that? Is it that? I'm like, no, that's fine. As soon as she got to my feminine foot and she just pressed one part there, I was like, ah, and she was like, okay, that makes more sense. So that's why when we we work with a lot of our different body parts, it can tell us a lot about our life and about our health as well, like what's going on inside of our body. So um I think everyone should experience reflexology at some point, even also just using it with essential oils would be pretty beneficial, because I've noticed, like, once I've actually put oil on my foot and I ended up tasting it on my tongue, and I felt that when I do with the oxygen drops, with the MMS, I put it into the bath in the foot tub, and I, for pain, because that's what I was using in the beginning before I started also including the essential oils, and then like I would put peppermint on my tummy just to help with the pain and the cramping, and that actually felt really, really good, because you just feel that sensation, that cooling sensation. We're like, oh, and it also helps with indigestion, so anything that's going on inside and your belly button. I've also heard putting essential oils, because it's by your umbilical cord, it literally just takes it, because it's your lifeline. It like passes those signals and those messages to the rest of the body and say, okay, this the communication in the body is now open, because it excites the mitochondria, it excites the cells, it revives, especially inhalation. You've got, it works with the olfactory system, so it gets those brain motors going again, whether it's to wake it up or you smell something to calm yourself down. Yeah, which is very interesting. I've actually I think we've opened up and touched on very big subjects tonight, with making those changes into our lifestyle. I want to thank Mandy so much just for coming and joining us, and speaking about essential oils and just bringing us the knowledge. So yes, if there's anything else anybody would like to add, that is great. Mandy, if you'd like to leave us with something, or we good.
There's one other thing that I do that I love to work on with people, and I wanted to touch on that before I went, because I do skio for people, so I really can see the association with the mental and the physical. And when we look at endometriosis, because that's what we're talking about at the moment, is it's insecurity, disappointment, frustration, replacing self-love with sugar blamers. So that's that. I always look at the owie, at the sore point, before I even do anything else. So if I'm dealing with that, we need to find out what is the owie, what is that trigger that's causing that. And it's a biggie. I am both powerful. That's the affirmation. I'm both powerful and desirable. It's wonderful to be a woman. I love myself and I'm fulfilled. And so you need to start. I normally start right there. So that's where I feel, our mental state, our physical state of being. Our physical state of expression is our mental state of being. So if your mental state of being is not happiness and contentness, and it's got too much resentment and anger, you are going to have that expression. And I almost say to people, if you cannot shift that mental state of being, you probably won't fix the physical issue. It's there manifesting itself and telling you what you need to shift. So that's why, another reason why I love the oils so much, because the oils help you not only on your physical, but they're helping you spiritual and emotional. And that's why I love Young Living so much.
Yeah, that is, like what you said is true, about the endometriosis part of things. I remember when I was going through all that pain, that physical pain that was coming through, it was all the emotional pain that I kept up for years, and obviously coming out of that, and the more I did like EFT and yoga and neurolinguistic programming, and adding all these things to help with the mental and emotional aspects. And now I'm also adding, been adding the essential oils, to help with that fear, to help with those insecurities, because it's uplifting. So like integrating these different things like essential oils, supplements, physical and emotional therapy and mental exercises. I think no matter what cases it is, like even with like menopause, again, it's resistance of aging, going into that new chapter in your life where you realize that you're not that young person, but embracing the wisdom that you've gained over the years as well. And I think that's just a lot to do with the emotional aspects. I think we were never taught to engage a lot with our emotional selves growing up, and it's now happening more than ever. And going through these therapies and stuff that have really shifted a lot of people's transitions in life. Even like when I saw my best friend go through what she went through, she did the physical, she did the emotional work as well, because you have to get rid of that root cause of like either abandonment. Like if you have issues today of the abandonment cord, you have to like start it, that you have to deal with those issues going forward. So this is a very nice collection that we have put together over the last 3 days, having Mandy and Paul and Kay come on board and just speaking to us ladies about taking responsibility for our well-beings. And here are the tools that are able to help you to further your journey into the health and wellness. So thank you, Mandy, for joining us, and we appreciate everybody for coming on board and taking responsibility and taking the necessary steps to your well-being. So well done. And the recordings will be available on Facebook and on the Facebook group. So if you haven't joined them, please join them. Essential Wellness Global and Essential. And you can follow Mandy at Ubuntu Africa and is it BMS Holistic?
BMS Holistic Health.
Holistic Health, right? So you can follow her on social media. She also does really great videos, and she's available for contact. We'll put her details up as well with the videos. So thank you, ladies, for joining, and good night.
Good evening.
Bye.
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 Bye, everyone.